was possibly in the Memorial Hall. Excuse me. Anyway, at the time I had come in February 26th, we really didn't know for sure if it existed or not, and I asked you guys for permission to be able to explore that. Nicole and I did. So March the 9th, the first part of March it rained and it rained and it rained. So we found a 1 day period that we was able to go down and bring the tools in and actually explore that. So I contacted Dan Johnson and Nicole and Steve Schaefer. And anyway, we showed up there that Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and I brought the tools and the camera and stuff that I needed to see if I could verify that spot. Anyway, we went up and we drilled through the actual block that I showed you the pictures of that I thought was the cornerstone for sure. And we drilled it, and there wasn't nothing in the top of it. So then we drilled the center of it thinking, well, maybe, now I'm talking small holes, and I'm talking something that doesn't affect it any whatsoever. And it was solid in it also, so it didn't have any luck there either. So we kind of backed off and thought we need to rethink this because something ain't right. We know this is an oddball block, and we know the existence of a time capsule. So nonetheless, it rained the rest of the week, so I went to the library and spent several more days and was lucky enough to find several articles that kind of led me in the right direction. So the following end of the week, the first article I found was a week prior to the ceremony of placing the cornerstone on that building, and it talked about it being 6.5 foot high and that it was underneath the actual cornerstone. So that told me where my problem was. So we went back in the end of that week and actually made one more drill and was able to locate that time capsule. And in the article, the first article talked about what it consisted of. It was a brass box, sealed, and went into real great detail leading up to the celebration. And then the next article I found was the actual celebration of the placing of the time capsule. And it's said to be probably one of the bigger celebrations that Ironton has ever had. And it said that the attendance was over the thousands and that the Civil War soldiers were into the hundreds that attended this. So it was a big celebration. And those that knows a little bit about history knows that was the only year we really didn't have the Memorial Day parade, was during that. Even though we did have marching that went on. So we did kind of have a parade. It was just a different round as far as that goes. So anyway, I wanted to... who all knew my findings? I know I kind of shared them a couple weeks later on my history group, so some of them know that I did find it, and I was able to get the first picture of it in 135 years, and also a video of it. Now, we'll pass this around. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's black. My camera does do color, but once it gets inside there, it's naturally dark, so it works off light. So that's a black and white picture of it. So what you're looking at there is the first photo of that time capsule in 135 years since its placement. You get past that around also. And if you look at this next photo I took this next photo to show exactly where that capsule actually ended up being located. And it's actually underneath the cornerstone, which is 6.5 foot high. And the exact dimensions of the box, we're thinking is probably about 8 by 8 by maybe 10. So the good news about all this is that the cornerstone, which is rather large, isn't going to have to be tampered with to remove this time capsule. So we're kind of thinking that we can remove one of the smaller stones underneath it real easy to gain access to bring that out and put it back, if you also agree with me on that. We originally talked about, we thought this was the perfect year to try to bring this out. We all know with our Memorial Day celebrations, it goes hand in hand with everything we do with Memorial Day. So I reckon what I'm here to ask you guys is, do we want to go forward with this? Because it's going to consist of about a month period of getting a lot of stuff together to actually pull it out. My thinking is we got April, and then we got the end of May until Memorial Day. But it would be nice to be able to get it pulled out in April, have it on display here at the building, and then also put some more literature and stuff around it for display. And then possibly during have it in, it should be in the Memorial Day Parade, I think. It should be on a float, or it should be marched, or somehow, because it is such a big part of the town. And then thereafter, possibly open it up and go through the contents of it. But I reckon I'm here for
I
now.
don't want to speak for council, but I would be interested to see it opened up and come, as long as, you know, like you said, you've ensured that no structural damage will be done. I believe the mayor had to give the blessing.
So maybe
the
one of
last
the
time.
next steps is to reach out to different contracting companies that have experience with historical buildings to see the least invasive way of getting it out.
I mean, it's city-owned property. I think we need to first notify our insurance carrier and make sure there would have to be a release of liability. Because if that thing falls and kills somebody, it's a significant liability.
Well, I knew that was
I
going
think
to be
it's
a
a great
question.
idea.
I knew that was going to be.
I
I knew that was going to be a
mentioned it
question
last
that came up. So I'm kind of a little bit of step ahead of that. Also, being safety in my background and structural construction in my background. Also, the company that's here is working on all the churches. Everybody's seen that's doing all that. I contacted their foreman, their job foreman, talked to him, kind of consulted a little bit in him. So kind of my thinking is we'll probably work through a company like that, if you all agree, see what kind of price they would charge me or whatever to remove that one block and let them take full liability of it. But now you're right, we need
Yeah,
to
I mean, the
consult.
city has to have a release before we touch that.
It would become a project.
Yeah.
It would become a small minor project. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's, if we don't want to put it out there where it sounds like it's a money-making operation, because it's not. This is, hopefully this is all charity work. So,
Would that have to be agreement council approves, or would it be a mayor and
Probably,
party?
yeah, probably the mayor.
Okay. So, would we have to?
Yeah.
Sam can.
Yeah, I don't think
ask
there's any
for that.
legislation that will be needed. I think we just I need to work with Sam to make sure that there's releases before we start.
I'm kind of we're at a time is the essence, because my thought to do the right celebrations and maybe YouTube videos and the proper way of making contacts of other people who might be interested, whether it be the Tribune, the Herald, or whether it be Ohio Historical Society, we'll probably want to get kind of involved with their stories so that to document it for historical reasons. But I figure we need to put a committee of people together, whoever's really interested. We've already got 4 people that's highly interested in it right now. That's already, participated in work we've already done. So nonetheless, we want to work with all our museums. We want to work with our VFW. We want to work with anybody that's interested within the city. But
What I'm going to suggest is I'll share this with the mayor, but the mayor's not here this evening. Call him probably next week. We'll have something like an agreement or whatever's going to be needed.
Okay.
And then we can
I can get back
to work. I think the mayor's your go-between with this whole process. If there's no legislation, I think the mayor will have to.
I mean, we've got with the 250 celebration, we've got the whole year to actually do a reveal of it. But I just think it goes hand in hand with what we try to do.
I agree with that.
So with that being said, it's kind of gun ho.
So we'll follow up with the mayor next week and go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Go from there. Yep. Great. In the meantime, like I said, we can get some figures and go from that. And I also was going to ask you said you had an engineer on contract for the city of Ironton right now, or?
Yes.
Okay. So we can work hand in hand with them, or are they,
Yeah.
they on like retainer, or are they on project specifics?
They're project specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we don't want to talk to them unless they know we're going to talk to them.
Right.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you and all your work.
All right.
Any other items of participation?
Actually,
I'm sorry, this is,
hello. For y'all that don't know me, my name is Chad Yu. I'm a captain with the City of Ironton Police Department. I'm not going to take up much of your time.
Address, please.
I'm sorry.
Address, please.
24 Destiny Drive, Barbersville, West Virginia.
All right, thank you.
The reason that I wanted to literally, for some of you guys that probably don't know me, I wanted to literally put a face with the name of who I am. And I want you guys to realize that yesterday, oddly enough, was 18 years that I swore my oath to this city, to God, to maintain and preserve public peace, to do what I think is right no matter what, And I've done it as best I can. I'm human, I make mistakes, as everybody does. As throughout the years, and there's been ups and downs, I've worked with Mr. Anderson for years, and everything goes, and sometimes we have ups, sometimes we have downs. Recently, we took part of this police chief examination, in which, as you know, I scored first in the written part of the examination. Since then, I've been contacted with some concerning matters that I'm sure you guys are aware of. And I wanted to bring it to your attention that I never asked for favoritism, I never asked for anything, I asked for fairness. And the reality is, every single day that I go to work and I have the opportunity to tell my young guys, and there's some of them that are here with me, and I tell them that we're expected to do three things. Three things. I tell them to filter everything through reasonableness, totality of circumstances, and good faith. But I swore an oath that's what I based everything on, as you guys did. We all swore an oath here together. And the reality is, if this proposed ordinance that has been considered for the residency, and the timely matter is the question as well, but if this is an issue of response, which is the way that it's listed, I would like to have some kind of explanation how I could live in Gallipolis, Ohio, and have 3 times the distance, but I can't live in Huntington, West Virginia. If we think that's reasonable, if we think that is acting in good faith, then I may be alone, because it sure doesn't seem like it. I can tell you that with everything in me, I've done everything I can to preserve the protection of the rights of the people of the city of Ironton. I've literally bled for this city for 18 years. That's a long time. I swear so that I have this gray in my hair. And now I do. And I'm asking you to take that into consideration before anything will be passed. My commitment to the city's been established. My role to the city's been established. I have proven myself time and again. The last time I addressed this council, I was receiving an award for valor and bravery. So you make this decision to pass this ordinance, that's what you're passing it against. Keep that in mind. I won't hold you anymore. God bless you guys, and thank you all for hearing me.
Thank you.
Good evening. Marion Tussey, 1507 Karen Street. I just got to skim the notes from last week, and I noticed it said something in there about updating city vehicles maybe every couple of years, and to provide a listing. The department head had to provide a listing every November. I would like again to bring up the fact that all the vehicles are not marked. And again, this one particular person keeps reaching out to me that vehicles are being used for personal use, and at almost $4 a gallon. I don't think the citizens should be paying for that. I think every city vehicle needs to have a placard or some kind of identification on it. And I would hope you would consider that when you start buying new ones, or even what you have now, or the newer ones, so that there's not, advantages being taken with the citizens' money that they provide. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, and I have brought this up before, and someone brought it up to me, there's a camper at the waterworks, and I understand that it was taken off the city streets. However, it does belong to someone that works for the city, a relative. So we had that camper down here at the waterworks, and it finally got moved when it was questioned, why are we providing a camper? Everybody would like to have a free place to put their camper. And it got moved. Now we have a camper up at the waterworks sitting there. And I don't understand why we do. It wasn't sold at the last sale, so I'm assuming the city doesn't own it. So I'd just like to know, or have someone check into, why are we providing free services of housing people's campers? And the other thing I would like to ask is, does the city own Staytan? Do you all have anything to do with that property? No? And one other thing, I had gotten from John the tax code and landlord ordinance 25-47. And I was just going to ask him how that was being. I didn't actually know that y'all had passed it in November, and I've been coming up to the meetings. And I'm just wondering, if people buy property, how are you notifying them that they need to fill this form out if it's going to be a rental? And are you getting a good feedback from people that do have rentals to fill this information out?
Nate?
Marion, that went through our income tax department, so that's communicated to those clerks. So whenever they would go to file their income tax, if they bought a rental property, that would need to be included in their return. That's how I understand it.
Okay, so people that have already rentals, they are providing that information, I'm thinking.
It's my understanding that the income tax clerks have sent that out to anyone that may have filed a Schedule E or so forth in the previous.
Okay, and just one other thing, I don't know if he's a sergeant or what, but Officer Goo, I remember when he started, we had a neighborhood watch down in Green Valley, and I do have to say, of all the people, we could call him, and he would come every time and check out or do whatever. He has been, as far as I know, he was dedicated to us years ago when we had that neighborhood watch, so throw that out there. Thank you.
Any other audience participation?
Hey guys. Hey, I'm Sherry Cook. My address, if you need that, is 632 Knife Branch. I actually live in West Virginia, Glenwood. I have a question. It's kind of a follow-up on Officer Gu. My question is the process of hiring through the civil service. If that's already underway with you guys and it's been a trusted means to always choose a candidate, why would that be stopped midstream to change a law that would change residency requirements after scores have been submitted? Because in honesty, that kind of makes you guys look less transparent, or some could view that as like ill intent, because when that law was proposed for interjecting into the process of the hiring. Does that make sense? So just kind of a reflection moment for you guys, like the timing of that in a current process ongoing for an interview process kind of seems to look like it's a midstream stoppage. So just kind of food for thought for y'all, because you've done really great with, hiring candidates, and I would suggest just to take that underway.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other audience participation? Saying none. Marta, would you move along with ordinances? Marta, would you please give ordinance 2616 first reading, please?
Requiring the chief of police department and the chief of fire department to be residents of Lawrence County, Scioto County, Jackson County, or Gallia County, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Moving along to ordinance 2617. Marta, would you please give ordinance 2617 first reading?
Requiring city department heads to provide a list of all major vehicles and equipment to the city finance director by November 1st of each calendar year, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Moving along to ordinance 2618. Marta, would you please give ordinance 2618 first reading?
Amending section 1060.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Ironton, Ohio. First reading.
Nate?
I'd like to make mention that ordinance 2618 received favorable recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Noted. Moving along to ordinance 2619. Marta, would you please give that first reading?
Repealing chapter 876 of the codified ordinances of the city of Ironton, Ohio, regulating taxi cabs and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Moving along to ordinance 2620. Marta, would you please give that first reading?
An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $3 million of bonds by the city of Ironton, Ohio, for acquiring and constructing improvements to the wastewater system, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Let's look at the actual ordinance.
Marta, would would you please give ordinance 20, no, sorry, Nate.
I'd like to note that ordinance 2620 received favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee.
2620, favorable recommendation noted. Moving along to ordinance 2621. Marta, would you please give that first reading?
Authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services contract with Arcadis for design and construct of the Ironton wastewater treatment plant improvements, digester, trickling, filter, and disinfection project, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Nate.
I'd like to note that ordinance 2621 received favorable recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Noted. Marta, would you please give ordinance 2622 first reading?
Limiting traffic on South 13th Street between Vine Street and McGovney Avenue to operate only in a northerly direction and prohibiting on-street parking on said street and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Craig.
A question for Brigham. Am I able to call public hearing, or does it have to be the chair?
Chair.
I'd request the chair to have a public hearing, 5 o'clock, April 23rd, regarding
Second meeting of April.
regarding South 13th Street. The resident contacted me, Nate, Sam, anybody else that would listen
I got
about the narrowness of that street, that it's been an alley and now it's a street, but the 5 houses on that alley/street have 13th Street addresses. So hence the legislation, but I would like public input from, if the 5 people that live on that street want to have public input.
Yes. Can't have it on the 23rd.
It's not official zone, it's just a
Just a
my
street
request.
change.
Yeah. It's not a zoning change, and there is no required public hearing. I'm just asking.
understand.
I'm asking.
We can do it whenever. And it can be the chairman or majority of council to answer questions.
Okay.
All the meetings.
You'll be here?
Yeah.
I would like to call a public hearing for April 23rd, 5 o'clock in council chambers regarding ordinance 2622, limiting traffic on South 13th Street. I'll send that out in an email as well. Thank you. You're welcome. Moving on to resolutions, there are none. Miscellaneous. Nate?
I'd like to make a motion to accept and make part of the minutes of the February 2026 city financials.
Craig?
Second.
Have a motion by Nate, and a second by Craig to accept monthly financials. Roll call, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Simmons.
Aye.
Those are accepted. Nate?
I would like to note, I forgot to, in the finance committee, John provided, as he was asking, expenses that exceeded $25,000 in the months of March. That's on your desk also. Should have been presented in finance and ran out of time.
Do you want me to make those?
We don't need to.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous? I have a little bit, from just speaking when I was down at the city cleanup day, very well receptive and very appreciated by the residents that, communicated with the city employees down there. I did have a number, but definitely Friday and Saturday were, I think they said they took like 20-some dumpsters out of there alone in those 2 days. So hopefully that keeps trash out of the alleys and continues to improve slum and blight around the community. I just want to pass that on to everybody. Any other miscellaneous? Nate?
I'd like to make a motion to go to executive session to discuss property with no action to follow. With solicitor and the finance director. Council.
Craig?
No second.
Have a motion by Nate and a second by Craig to enter executive session.
5 minutes.
Property, yes. We've got some basketball. The solicitor, counsel, and finance director.
Reds are in my opinion.
I thought that'd be all right, everybody now. Thank you guys for attending. We're now entering executive session.